Hello and welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm your host, Noah Chast, alongside analyst Evan Lasek. And today we're going to talk about NFL fantasy football. Now, what we're not going to talk about is how I only have one win in over 3 weeks in 2 leagues of fantasy football, but we're going to talk about reasons why I may be losing or winning. So, Evan, talk about some quarterbacks that have been doing well and some that haven't been in fantasy league.
Well, no, first of all, I think you should just join more leagues because the more you join, the more success you may have. It's really a numbers game at this point. My MVP this year is definitely Lamar Jackson. Moving the ball through the air and on the ground has been a strength for him. He's averaging an astounding 28.6 points per game, and that's leading the NFL currently for fantasy-wise. The busts this year are going to be Mitch Trubisky and Baker Mayfield so far. Mitch hasn't even thrown a passing touchdown, but he has thrown one interception. His point totals have not been there. Baker Mayfield has thrown more interceptions than passing touchdowns, but that's not really his fault. He's just rushed in the pocket and has to chuck it. But either way, that's not coming up in fantasy very positive. If I were you, I would definitely look at acquiring Case Keenum this week. He's playing a very, very bad New York Giants secondary, and he's been lighting it up recently. He has 21 points per game on the season, and he's going to continue that success, I believe.
Honestly, I didn't know the stat about Baker Mayfield. It is kind of eye-popping, and I'll think about acquiring Case Keenum. I'm not really sold on him yet, but he does have an easy game coming up. Now, we talked about quarterbacks. Let's move on to the powerhouse of fantasy leagues, the running backs now. Who's looking good, who's not? Tell me about them.
All right, so basically you still have the three standout running backs with now Saquon out for a few weeks with a bad ankle. My MVP, though, is going to be Christian McCaffrey. Christian's averaging 26 points per game, and he's just being a powerhouse. That Week 2 matchup where he only got 8 points was because they were playing from behind the whole game, and they had to throw the ball more often. Now, Dalvin Cook, he can start to creep his way into MVP categories, but right now I'm still going with McCaffrey because with Kyle Allen playing, that was really helping him last game. The busts as of right now are James Conner and Todd Gurley. They're both first-round talents, but they haven't been playing like first-round talents. They're not RB1s currently. They're barely making it in a flex spot. They're being outscored by low guys like Marlon Mack, for example. Marlon Mack is definitely somebody you would want to acquire. He's going up against a very, very bad Raiders team. He has been lighting it up. He has 17.5 points per game, and Jacoby Brissett loves handing it off to him, loves throwing it to him, and I think he's going to do really good this week.
You got to expect Todd Gurley to explode at some point. He can't just stay this quiet, but maybe his health is still in question, or there's just too many options on that Rams team. Yeah. I'm just not sure. Now let's go to another skill position, the wide receiver groups. Some people have been disappointing. Some have been surprising. Tell me about who you think is a good pick right now.
So wide receivers right now, you got to go with Julio Jones. He's one of the best in the league, and he's going to continue to prove so like that. His numbers haven't been that impressive, but he does have a touchdown in each of his first 3 games. But let's talk more about bust because you do have the top guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, but then you think Devontae Adams. He was in the top 5 category for number 5, like top 5 receivers, I mean. He was being considered for that role early on, but he's averaging a lowly 11.6 points per game, barely being able to eclipse the 100-yard mark at time, barely being able to eclipse the 50-yard mark at time. It may just be an Aaron Rodgers thing, getting comfortable with the new offense, but he's also projected to blow. And, of course, you got to throw Antonio Brown in that bust. I mean, we all know what happened to him. He played 1 game. He didn't do bad that 1 game, but he's not playing anymore.
All the games he played.
Yeah, first-round talent. First-round draft pick for most fantasy leagues, and that's just a bummer again. Now, if I were you, I would definitely acquire DJ Chark. He has been lighting it up, and he's still unowned in a lot of fantasy leagues, which is really surprising because he's putting up wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2 numbers.
Yeah, and I got to add to your bust list, Stephon Diggs. He has not had over 10 points in the game yet this season, and that on that offense is just so surprising. So maybe I'll go and try and acquire DJ Chark.
Yeah, those Vikings wide receivers are being a little questionable right now.
It's a little bit of Kirk Cousins doing, but neither here nor there. So let's finish off with the last skilled position in the last offensive group, the tight ends. What's going on over there?
All right, the tight ends, you expect Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz, George Kittle to all be the top 3, but it's actually been Evan Ingram leading the way alongside Mark Andrews. Ingram, though, is going to be my MVP for the whole season. I think he's just going to continue to produce because there are not a lot of receivers on that Giants team. Evan Ingram is going to be the favorite of Daniel Jones as he was Eli Manning the first 2 games, and he's going to continue to put up numbers like that. Now, bust, you have to go with Jimmy Graham. This man has had 0 points in the last 2 games, And he had 12 points in the first game, but that came off of a 5-yard touchdown. O.J. Howard he had one game, which is last game, where he had 3 catches for 66 yards that helped him, but other than that, he's done nothing. Acquiring Will Disley has to be a must for tight end needy teams. He's become a favorite of Russell Wilson's in the red zone, and he's been getting more targets.
Well, I gotta say, I'm excited to see how Evan Ingram continues to improve in the new Daniel Jones era. For NFL analyst Evan Lasek, I'm Noah Chast. That has been your Sports Night NFL Fantasy Update.
Thank you for watching our latest edition of Penn State Sports Night. If you're a fan of our content, please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more clips. Also follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with the action. For all my colleagues, we are Penn State Sports Night.